Hello and welcome to the Shadow Work Library. My name is Jessica DePazzi and I have a very special episode for you today with one of my good friends, Mark England. Now, before I get into that, apologies for this intro's audio quality. I'm at my parents' house in Phoenix right now and I didn't bring my microphone because my bag is always overweight and it was still overweight. I could have brought it, but anyway, I need to get a scale, manage that. So the rest of the show will not sound like this. Mark has been on the show before. He was on early on in the Shadow Work Library years, like maybe 3 years ago. And that episode is still one of the most listened to episodes, and for good reason. He has a great system for casting spells, really. He's a self-identified redneck who's obsessed with the power of language to unlock what he calls the breath of humanity. So in this show, we talk about how to use your stories to change your reality and how they do currently change your reality, so why not do that intentionally? He has mechanisms and he shares mechanisms for removing certain words that cause friction and conflict in your inner world, and of course that manifests in your outer world. And because he's an old friend, we're very weird on this episode and a little irreverent, so if you're here for that too, I think you'll like this episode. And finally, if you're feeling inclined, leaving me a rating and review would be amazing. All right, enjoy the show. Mark England.
Howdy.
Let's have a conversation.
Since we're here.
I have 8,000 post-it notes ready to be scribbled on.
It's a lot of post-it notes.
So for long-time listeners of the show, you'll recognize his sultry voice. You won't recognize his outfit because last time we chatted, actually, it was audio only, but you were in an epic tracksuit?
Tracksuit, yeah.
Do you still do the tracksuits?
Oh, yeah. I was talking to, level 2, group 9 for our certifications. We had class yesterday. And it was a second class, 2 out of 10. And I told them to go ahead, do not wait, go ahead and start looking at tracksuits. Because all of our level 2 students graduate in tracksuits. And we've got 150, 165 level 2 students so far. And they all have, the tracksuit thing's alive and well.
Great. What do your level 1 students graduate in?
Nothing.
Savages.
They graduate as them, and I christen them with the bling. Yes.
I don't know what that is.
So, shall I?
Yeah. For any of you listening to the podcast version, I have a YouTube version now, and Mark is taking off his clothes. No, it's awkward.
Your YouTube. So, shout out to William Author Jewelry. I had to make the AK-47 piece first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the abracadabra piece. And I take, so it's the pen and the sword. It's my version of the pen and the sword. And if we want to get all America about it, it's 1A and 2A of the Constitution. Right of free speech, right to bear arms. And I will take these and put these up in the, jam them right up there near the camera and give them the magic blessing and congratulations for graduating. And
congratulations, you're now an American citizen.
Congratulations, you're now an officially certified Enlifted level 1 coach, which is not easy to do for a variety of reasons. Variety of very good reasons. Yeah, so these are both made by William Author, okay, custom pieces. It took months to make. And, garnets, solid silver with garnets. And then I bought a buddy of mine, he was a combat vet from the first Iraq War. He's a 50 cal gunner on an Amtrak. And I bought him a shirt back in the day with a AK-47 on it, and it just said, "Let's party." And he thought it was the funniest thing. So, and he wore it all over the place. So I had that engraved.
Oh, that's sweet.
"Let's party" on the back. Shout out to Glenn Childress. And then this is my abracadabra piece. It's the same thing. Same guy, same jeweler. silver, garnets, and then "I lived, bitch," engraved on the back
What else does it say?
in Rick James' voice.
Oh, God. In Rick
"I lived,
James?
bitch."
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
there's a whole story about that if you want it at some point in time.
it would make sense to give you an intro at this point because people are like, what is even happening right now?
Are you going to intro me like we were talking about earlier, or do I?
Yeah, so this is my
It's
guest.
insulting if you do it. It's funny if I do it.
Okay, well, then I'll do
Hey,
it.
everybody, this is Mark England. He's a guy. He's a former PE student.
PE student?
That too. A former elementary school PE teacher. He's a man of mediocre intelligence, and with a handful of MMA fights. So please take that into consideration when you listen to him talk about the power and the mechanism
Right.
of words and stories.
He's been hit in the head so many times.
Majorly concussed.
Majorly concussed and loving it. He's here. He's ready to
made it
share
work
his
for
story. And the thing about Mark is that he's embraced his simple nature.
Yeah, I have.
And so he has focused literally on one thing his entire life, which is words and stories.
For the past 16 years, I know I turned 16 January 17th. It's an impressive beard for a 17.
Right. Metabolic age of
16, yeah. Who knows? I don't even want to know. I'm not getting that tested. Nope.
I don't want to know.
No.
Great. So maturity age of 11, career age of 16, which in career years is a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It actually is.
Yeah.
And in coaching years, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There are not many people that have been coaching for 16 years, especially in the mindset space. Exclusively. It's the only thing I've done. It's just words and stories. Hey, what you got? Got a problem? Give me a pen and a piece of paper. Write it down. Let's stare at our words.
So all these bad jokes aside,
I've got great jokes.
you have some good jokes, some great jokes, some
I
dad
think
jokes.
all of them are fantastic.
Mark is sitting here because he is doing his Texas tirade, his own mini tour of visiting this beautiful state that I just moved into, which thank you, Texas, for acknowledging.
Yeah, thank you, Texas.
Yeah.
Shout out to Texas.
Acknowledging me. So Mark is sitting here because he is one of these people that has really changed the trajectory of my life.
Yeah.
In a great way. Absolutely. And I told some of this story in the first show that you were on, which has the most views of all the shows that I've done.
Seriously.
Which is depressing in a way because the audio quality was so bad in that episode. I don't know if you were underwater or Zoom back in the day was not amazing. Now we live in the future.
Could have been slurring my words. We were drinking.
And we were drinking. So I had this
Still
theory that I would love to drink with my guests, to have an old school symposium type of situation. Most people don't like to drink before noon, and that's typically when we record. Mark, I swear he knows words very well. There's a reason why he said that. So anyway, you've absolutely changed the trajectory of my life in amazing ways. So thank you very much. And I'm really happy to have you at my house.
Yeah, likewise.
And to do this in person.
Yeah, this is very fun. The Texas tirade is, I drove down here from Virginia, and I left the lake house, which you've been to, last Wednesday. And I got on the other side of Nashville on that Wednesday. And then the Thursday, got to Hot Springs, Arkansas, which I highly recommend going to. Hot Springs they're fun. They're therapeutic and all the good magical things. And then this particular place, it's got a very cool story to it. So Hot Springs, it was a coin toss between Hot Springs and Vegas for the gangsters in Chicago. Where are we going to create our gambling mecca? And Vegas won. And Lucky Luciano and Al Capone, they all would come down to Hot Springs, and there were gorgeous architecture, bathhouses and it's speakeasies and tunnels, and it's got this spooky, cool vibe to it, and it's a small town. Then I stopped there, 2 nights there. That was on my bucket list for 15 years. And then down to Dallas, hung out with Coach Clint, watched some fights. watch Erin Blanchfield strangle Jessica Andrade. So she's the new up-and-comer. She's the new face for the 125-pound women's division in the UFC. She's a gangster, 23 years old. And then came down here from there. So I did the Will You Survive This podcast this morning, which is the Sheepdog Response, Sheepdog Tactical, Tim Kennedy's show. Tim wasn't there. He was out doing Tim Kennedy things. That's it. Literally what they said. And did the show with Jeff Gonzalez, former Navy SEAL. That was cool. Stuck around and did a jiu-jitsu class with those guys. And I've done 20 jiu-jitsu classes in the past 20 years. I used to roll a decent amount, but like late 90s, early 2000s. So that was really cool. Went to Barton Springs, splashed around. And, now I'm here with you talking.
It was a beautiful day.
It really was. It really, really was. And got a workshop in San Antonio tomorrow night, and then a workshop in Austin Thursday night. Cal Callahan's podcast Friday, and then the thing keeps going.
Why in the world would anyone want you to speak at their establishment? You might be wondering. Yeah. Not you. You might not be wondering that, but somebody else might be wondering that. So before we get into that, a couple of bits of housekeeping, as they say. I wanted to bring back the soft talk drinking game.
Okay.
It's 8 p.m. It's a reasonable time to do this. And we also have some delicious June shines with charcoal in them.
There's charcoal in it.
Right? So you know it's good for you. It's basically health food. And I also had another rule before you get into explaining what the soft talk drinking game is, which there's a point to this, I promise. This isn't just you watching our endless ramblings of two friends that are just catching up. I also didn't want to hear any stories I've heard from Mark before because he's a master storyteller. And one of the things that comes along with that is you get really good at telling the right stories. And so I'm challenging Mark to tell stories that he may not have practiced before. And I listen to all your stuff, so this might be hard for you. All right, Mark, what are the rules to the soft talk drinking game?
You track my soft talk and call me out on it. And for each soft talk keyword I use, I take a drink. It's not the only time I'm going to take a drink. Okay? I'm going to track your soft talk. And every time you use a think or a might or a maybe or a possibly or a could or a guess or a sort of or a kind of or a possibly or a perhaps or a hope or a try.
Yikes.
I'm going to tap on the counter and call you out and you drink.
Is I feel like a soft?
Hell yeah, it is.
Okay.
I feel like I'm avoiding the conversation. Take out the feel like, dummy. Watch what happens.
Would you take us through why we're even doing this?
The soft talk drinking game?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because soft talk is a problem for most people. And they're unconscious about their use of these softening words that makes making decisions and taking action and moving things forward in their life somewhere between hard and impossible. And it's epidemic. And it's also a very, this is my 326 podcast that I've gone on, talking about this one thing, which is the words and stories and how our words influence us for better and for worse. If we put it into one sentence, that's what I've done 326 times recorded. And soft talk, so I get asked a lot, what do we do? Where do we start? And it's soft talk. I talk about all the other stuff. Okay?
What do you mean, though? Like, who's asking you, what do we do? Like, what problem are they trying to solve?
Hosts. They want a gift for their audience at the end and something practical that they can do. What do we do about this whole victim mentality thing? And that answer is soft talk. Because there's a handful of words. It's very easy to build your awareness, my awareness about soft talk, and then very easy to practice taking it out of your language because it's just that simple. You take it out. You take out the guess from the text message. I guess I might want to do that. And you tell them either you do or you don't. Okay? And then that frees up a lot of mental real estate for both you and the person and the thing. Something else can happen. You know, maybe you do go there. Maybe you don't. Okay? You don't waste your time thinking about deciding, because that's terrifying. My favorite quote about soft talk is from Malmodius. He's not referencing soft talk, but he's referencing the outcome of it. He said, I prefer the fear of making the wrong decision to the terror of indecision. When someone uses thinks and mights and maybes and coulds and shoulds and guesses and hopefullys and kind ofs and sort ofs, they create this soft energy that it's really hard to get things done. It's hard to inspire people. It's hard to inspire yourself. It's hard to tell a good story that way. It's hard to ask a girl out on a date like that.
Give me an example of that.
Has anyone ever said something along the lines of, I think I might, or let's just go, we'll put we in there, or you, do you think you maybe might want to go out on a date with me one day, perhaps?
Yuck.
How'd that go? You just did it. And I've done that at least 25 times in workshops to illustrate the point. And it's also funny, too. There's something funny about the soft talk. And it's also, it gets real when I ask 3 women to come up. And I line them up and I say, I'm going to say one sentence. And I don't want you to say anything. I just want you to move your body in a way that these words make you feel. Because guess what? Our words influence our posture, our physicality, how we move our body. And a lot of times unconsciously. And I'll say that. I think I might want to take you out on a date one day, perhaps. Something along those lines. Ask them out with a bunch of soft talk in there. Inevitably, they just recoil and move away and then everybody go, and most women have had that experience of being asked out like that. Guess what? I've asked women out like that before. It didn't go so well. Yeah. So that's, and I might be avoiding the conversation with them. I take out the might, I am avoiding the conversation. Now I'm not thinking about what I'm doing. I'm owning what I'm doing. Okay, this is a way, and it gets very deep, because then it forces the issue about action. And now that I've made the decision that yes, I am avoiding the conversation, am I going to keep doing that? Okay, or am I going to have the conversation? Either way, I'm owning what my options are, as opposed to keeping this thing at finger's length and kicking the thing down the can, and it's even better and worse than that. Or it's better and worse. So when someone, this is the whole identification thing, the identity thing. When someone practices, and this goes for everything, when someone practices using, unbeknownst to them, soft talk, because when people learn about it, most of the time they prefer using solid talk because they feel better, they feel more confident, it's way easier for them to make things happen. When someone uses a lot of soft talk, they are creating a lot of indecision. And if they continue to create a lot of indecision, they inevitably identify themselves as indecisive. And when someone identifies themselves as something, in this case indecisive, they get way better at being indecisive. Once the person identifies themselves as unlovable, then their unlovability hockey sticks in their opinion, in their mind, in their story. When someone identifies themselves as, I'm really good at showing up. When someone shows up enough times to where they now have the evidence that I do this a lot and I'm good at doing this, and they say I'm really good at showing up, they get better at showing up. So whatever we identify ourselves as, we get better at. I fuck everything up, right? When someone says that to themselves and it lands, they're about to get better at doing that. I'm really good at managing my time. When someone identifies themselves as that, they get better at managing their time or their finances or whatever it is. And I am the most non-book recommended motherfucker, and I recommend this book, The Talent Code by Daniel Coyle, because he goes into, it's a very easy, fun read, and he goes into a lot of the neuroscience about what happens when people identify themselves. The power of identity, that's what we're talking about. And what is identity? I'm on a rant.
Hold on.
I got a black belt
Hold on,
in
hold
rants
on.
and tangents.
I want to talk about identities really quick.
Yeah.
But wait, where were you going? Just so I can bring us back.
Mindset.
Mindset. All right.
Mindset. What is it?
So
what is it?
I want
What is
to
it,
go
folks?
back to identities, because saying that I just fuck things up, or I'm just a bad mom, or something like that. There is.
Or I'm a fun dad. I mean, it goes both ways.
Well, let's talk about the negative stuff right now. There is a great cathartic experience that happens when you admit to something that you are. But in the system that you teach, there's also a way to deal with that, right? Because we can't be just avoiding, like, yeah, maybe you are bad at math. Maybe you are a bad mom. But right now, I am being a bad mom or something. Like, is there something that doesn't just bypass the issue? All right, I caught myself. So, hold up. Soft talk.
Hold up.
Wait a minute. If I want to acknowledge a soft word and use it intentionally, I'm going to put my finger up.
Cool. Do that. I do
Great.
that.
Great.
I think that's a great idea.
Fantastic. What are your thoughts on what I just said about acknowledging an actual moment in your life and acknowledging your feelings around how you feel and not making it part of your identity?
Well, we're a big fan of picking up the pen and paper and getting the story on paper. So, one, you can take a look at the words and two, improve your breathing about the thing. So, yeah, for sure, own what you're doing and also know why you got there. Because why you got there, there's a story that got you there. And that story is made up of words. And the current definition of identity, Webster's, not mine. I don't have any definitions. The fact of being who or what a person is. Okay. That one was real easy. That was a layup. So I dispelled that, which means to cast out. On stage, TEDx, in front of 1,800 people. And I said, raise your hand if you see yourself any differently now than how you did when you were 5. And it's such a ridiculous thing to say. Everybody just started laughing. Okay, of course they do. Why? Because identity is it's not the fact of being who or what a person is not fixed in that sense. And it's this, our identity, our mindset is a story. It's the story that we tell ourselves, and it's ongoing. Let me guess, you had some thoughts today.
I did.
Let me guess, you had some thoughts yesterday.
I did.
Let me guess, you told yourself a story today about some things. So did I. Let me guess, you told yourself some stories about stuff yesterday. Yeah, that's called participating. And most people, due to a lack of education about, one, the fact that they are participating in the story that they tell themselves, and then how they're doing that, they get tricked into being innocent bystanders in their life. They're NPCs, non-playable characters. They're spectators in the stands. And if someone, being a bad mom, okay, great. If that's the case, when were you that? Okay, because there's very likely evidence that you were a good mom as well. So instead of having just say a handful of experience, which you use to create a blanket identification of yourself, if you've got a prosecuting attorney in your head, also known as that shit-talking story or shit-talking voice that's relentlessly showing you all the fails, and because most people do. Remember when that happened? Remember when you messed that up? Remember when they weren't there for you? Remember all that? It just show, and a lot of it's the same stuff over and over again. It's not like we see that negative story once and then it's gone forever. No, it's this relentless repetition of the fails. It's like a prosecuting attorney that will never stop. Okay. Well, guess what? You can turn the volume down on that. Give me a pen and paper, and I'll prove it every time. When someone is like, yeah, okay, I do want to turn this down. If someone wants their victim-centric story, of an email from God and an act of Congress is not going to change that, right? And then also, what about the, other times that you were a great mom and you showed up? And let me hear about those too. Pick up the pen and write those stories down. And so you present, you build a case for yourself. Gather evidence, present the evidence, and it needs to be written down in detail, specific events, conversationally written out. The more detailed, the better. Presenting evidence and make a case for yourself that you are good enough. And because people have the wins to celebrate too, and most people are so tremendously underwritten, and I'm not talking about insurance.
I think that was a good joke.
I'm full of them. Can I tell the jokes from earlier?
No. All right, moving on.
Just shut me down. Damn.
It's my show. I get to do whatever I want. So why do you believe that people have such a propensity to highlight their inner shit talker and to highlight those moments where they didn't show up? Where did that come from? Like, dig deep here. I want to know where.
We just stay real shallow. We have a glitch in our language. And the way the English language, a buddy of mine, I had a good friend on Koh Samui when I was living there years ago. That's starting to get a long time ago. He's an Ayurvedic doctor. And I was doing this work professionally full time, and he would go, you know the English language is a slave language. And on purpose, I wouldn't ask anything more. It's like I knew he was right. Just not like I can Google, hey, the English language is a slave language. And something smarter than my mind said yes to that, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna figure this out, or I'm gonna elaborate on that statement. And the way the English language is used almost exclusively, and it comes down to how the words are put together, which is an education issue. Most people, they have zero education about how to put their words together in a way that keeps the drama low, dismantles the victim mentality, unlocks their breath, builds themselves up in their imagination, and helps them feel capable and confident and worthy of having a hug. Most people's language is doing the exact opposite. It's the words.
Have you identified a language that is not a slave language?
No, because I only speak English.
That's a shame.
Yeah, I only speak English. Well, okay, let me back up on that. And let me finish that thought process, or that line of, the way the English language is used almost exclusively today. And it is externalized, it is vague, and it is inflammatory. And it scripts in all of its glory, Baskin-Robbins, 31 flavors, it's got nothing, I put that there, on the victim mentality. How many flavors of pain the victim mentality has. And that's why people have a tendency to, one, focus on the negative events, magnify them in their imagination, enhance the feelings of the fail, and then get addicted to it. That's called Fucksville. I lived in Ecuador for 18 months. I romanticized about renting a house in the middle of nowhere and writing a book, and I did. fun little backstory. My best friend from Thailand. Well, there was two. It was Adam, who's my business partner now, and then Josh Dharma, also known as Big Sexy or Fat Sexy, depending on who's asking. The most dangerous fat guy in the world.
Why?
Because he is. He's the 6'1", 330 pounds. He was the former multiple-time Danish Shotokan heavyweight champion. Okay, his head is the size of a cinder block, and he's got this huge gut, and he's just massive legs, and that dude can do it. The real Kung Fu Panda. He can do spinning back kicks off of. He can kick cans off your head, frontwards, backwards. It makes no sense. Okay, and he moved from Thailand in 2011 because he thought 2012 the Earth was going to crack in half. The floods and birds and attacking and
could have happened.
Giraffes gone wild, and so chaos. So he moved to Vilcabamba, Ecuador, and he goes, "Dude, this place is rad. You should come." So I did, and I lived there for 18 months, and I wrote. At the time, this was before Procabulary was Procabulary, and this thing that we're doing now was called. In the way that we're doing, we're better at it now, of course. 10 years later, it was called the Empowered Language Systems, and I went there with the purpose of writing a book, which I did in one sense. It turned into an ebook and a workbook that I was selling on my website. And I did a bunch of workshops while I was there and a ton of sessions. That's my MO. That's been my MO for a long time. Go somewhere, do some workshops, build a clientele base, and do a bunch of sessions, whether it's London or Istanbul or Bangkok, Koh Samui, did that in Australia, did it in LA, did it in Costa Rica, did it down in Ecuador. So we're still on the part of the conversation about, is this the only language that is doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And I befriended a UN translator down in Ecuador, Sam and Bernarda. She was Ecuadorian, he was American. And this guy, it was really just a weird, interesting side note. He was the smoothest translator I've ever seen, and I've worked with a number of translators in different languages, whether it's Turkish or Thai or a handful of different people in Spanish. I think anything else, not that and he would go into a trance and he would translate what I was saying fluently, verbatim. A half second, so I would talk, and he's like, I just want you to speak a little bit, like turn the volume down a little bit, and do everything the same, and he would translate, and we did 10 workshops for people down in Ecuador, Spanish speaking, and which you're familiar with, the 3 pillars of conflict language: projections, negations, and soft talk. They fit perfectly, as in the main language patterns that script people's victim mentalities in Spanish. And then let's back up, because guess what? There's only so many ways I can piss myself off in Cantonese. There's only so many ways I can create the victim mentality in French. There's only so many ways I can play the blame game in German. And we're nailing this English thing, knocking it out of the park in the way that we are.
What do you mean?
What do I mean? About what?
Like, what are we knocking out of the park? Meaning, like, we're the worst at all the soft talk stuff?
We're mapping. We're talking about Enlifted. We're mapping how, and our shit's the best. There, I said it. And take it with a grain of salt, because I'm one of the co-founders. As far as ease of use, practicality, simplicity, and whatever the X factor is, we got 19 of them. We've done a fantastic job of creating a method to help people dismantle the victim mentality and build the architect mentality or the hero mentality, using their words, using a pen. That's what we do. We certify coaches in how to do this, and we also put a tremendous amount of content out, open to the public for free, for a couple of reasons. One, it creates the good juju. Okay. Two, we're teachers to the core. Three, I'll put our stuff up against anything out there. Okay, so here's what we're doing. What are you doing? Right? And once we finish, and we got that app.
I like the app.
The app in the App Store.
App's cool.
The app is very cool. Great job, Eric Blackwell and our app team. They've been at it for 2 years.
In fact, actually, the last time I saw you, you guys were having meetings about the app.
Yeah. I asked them because we created a different LLC for it, and they came in with sweat equity and the whole thing. We put a little bit of money in there, and I asked them in October because he came out to the lake house, and on the way to the airport, I was like, they've been doing it for 2 years. I was like, dude, what would that cost off the rack? The amount of work y'all are done, you've done. $1.5 million for what? Yeah. Anyway.
I'm not surprised. The reason why I didn't have a facial expression, I'm sorry about that, by the way, but I'm not surprised because when you
that's what I was saying. I was
good
thinking,
work,
yeah,
of course, things work out.
Yeah. The app is in the App Store if you got an iPhone. It's still in beta in the sense, or not in the sense, it's still in beta, and we've got the perfect amount of the amount of users that he wants to test the technology. There's voice recording, and it'll map your words for you, and it's really cool. And guess what we do after English? We're going to pick another language, and we're going to go in there, and we're going to hire some what's the word? Linguists, not linguists, but just people, PhDs that know I don't even know what a past participle is, and I'm spearheading this thing. That they know the words of.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
What are they called?
I don't know.
Nobody knows.
I'm not a whatever they're called.
Yeah, I know, and neither am I. And we're going to create teams for Spanish. We're going to create teams for German. We're going to create teams for Cantonese. We're going to create teams for Mandarin, teams for Thai, teams for Laotian, teams for you name it.
You're playing a really dangerous game right now.
I know I am.
Because you're changing the way people talk.
I am giving them options. There's a big difference between changing the way people talk and giving them options. I'm giving them the ability to choose. I'm giving them the ability to change their words. I'm helping them learn more about how their words influence them for better and for worse, and that they've got options. And the end result of this thing is to unlock the breadth of humanity. Because that's a goal. That's an interesting thing to take a shot at. Unlock the collective breadth of humanity. If you're gonna wake up and take a swing at something, why not that? Because most humanity is under the spell of separation. They're in their stress response about God knows what the person across the street or that thing that happened 19 years ago, or what they're scared of maybe possibly happening in 10 years if their foot falls off and they lose their job and no one pays attention to them, and then they live under a bridge, and what ifing the bad shit, and there's so many different ways to hijack our imagination and create excess tension and rigidity in the body and trap the breath in the chest, and then you're just screwed. If you have no other way to use your words, you're just going to get more of those similar stories over and over again until you're dead, and that sucks. It's more than sucks. That's existentially terrifying. So, and then me being the simple, curious guy that I am, what happens if we unlock that breath? What if we dismantle the collective victim mentality of humanity? And we can do that in 5 generations. Could do it in 3. We can do it in 5. Or enough, saying this another way, enough of people so where we flip the opinion about the victim mentality. I'm here to make the victim mentality approximately as cool as littering. And when that happens, everybody wins.
I really like that. That's such a great analogy. There was a time where you could throw all of your crap out the window and no one would blink an eye.
Yeah, not now.
No, thank goodness.
I'm gonna say it again. The collective the victim mentality. I'm going to make. I'm not here to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make playing the victim relentlessly and even on purpose approximately as cool as littering.
Who are your biggest opponents in your work here?
Well, on a macro scale, the multitude of industries that have built themselves on the shoulders, the backs of people's victim mentalities. Who, the news is there to scare the shit out of you. They're not there to, tell you how to plant a garden and, be a better listener and breathe better. No, they're there to scare the hell out of you about things, big picture stuff that you've got little to no input on, and then sell you stuff in between. It's called commercials. Yeah, them. There's a bumper sticker. What would happen if the Defense Department had to hold a bake sale to.
Sounds like a long bumper sticker.
There are a lot of industries that are committed to helping people stay stressed. There are a lot of industries that are committed to keeping people stressed and sick and scared, and also known as keeping the breath trapped in the chest. And it's just so stupid. It's so boring. It's so boring. Really, is that what you're gonna do? Is that what you're gonna do? You're gonna wake up and do that for some money? Yeah.
These industries are made up of people who are stressed and are victim to their own system too.
That's the second part of my answer to that. So who's the biggest detractor, or who's the biggest impediment to this thing? An individual person who's addicted to their problems, who's addicted to their victim mentality. Is this a good time? I bet it is. For me to recite for the umpteenth time. I did it twice this morning on the podcast with the Navy SEAL I was on over at Sheepdog Response. Shout out to Jeff Gonzalez and Tim Kennedy. The victim, shall I recite the definition?
Yes, please.
I believe I did it on the last one, and I'm doing it on this one. It's repetition of this is valuable. If you have a pen and a piece of paper, write this down, because I've been relentlessly talking about this for the past 10 years. I've been talking about and talking about as in reciting the definition of the victim mentality and giving context to the conversation, which we've done already in this talk, specifically about soft talk, this podcast, for the past 10 years. And I've seen a lot of people's face light up when they hear the definition of the victim mentality, okay? And they get even more out of it when they write it down. 30, 50, 80. We remember 30% of what we read, 30% of what we hear, 50% of what we write, 80% of what we teach. Okay, so if you write this down, you get another 20% return on investment for your time listening to the Shadow Work Library. And if you turn around and share this information with someone, you're now in the 80 percentile. Okay, also sharing, teach, same thing. So if you write this down, you're now in a very exclusive club. Most people have never heard the definition of the victim mentality, much less written it down. The victim mentality is an acquired personality trait where a person tends, it's a tendency, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, where a person tends to regard himself or herself as the victim of the negative actions of others, even in the absence of clear evidence. The victim mentality depends on a habitual thought process and attributions. That second sentence, right between the eyes, right where it belongs. The victim mentality depends. It has to have a habitual thought process. Habitual accurately implies duration and addiction. And then there's the words, thought process. What do you mean by thought process? I mean certain words put together in certain ways and repeated over and over and over again. And then that last word, attributions, you know what that is? That's called characteristics. Let's just focus on the main one, breathing. When someone's breath is trapped in their chest and they go navigate their day, it's really easy to take things personal. When someone's breath is trapped in their chest, it's really hard for them to be a good listener. It's called amygdala hijack. Look it up. When someone's breath is trapped in their chest, it's really easy to assign people horns, make them into the villain. Every victim, you have to have a villain. If you're a victim, you have to have a villain. And most people know somebody. I very frequently, I'll recite that definition and then ask somebody, or ask the group, I'm going to do this tomorrow night and then Thursday night, raise your hand if you know someone who's got an entrenched, inflamed dumpster fire of a victim mentality. Most people raise their hand right off the bat, and I ask them, what's their life like? And they'll say, oh, God, it's just this. Oh, God, everything's a problem. They've always got somebody to blame and all this stuff. And then I'm like, what's it like being around them? They, in some form or fashion, they all say the same thing. It's draining. It's draining. And then I keep going because I got the knife in there. I might as well twist it. You ever been on a team with one of those people? You ever been on a team with one of those people, like a professional team? You ever had them in a group in an office, and people raise their hand? And I'm like, what's that like? And they say the same thing. It just makes stuff so much worse. And guess what? That victim mentality is built from words. Back to that.
I have a victim person on my team, my internal team.
Most people do. Now, how much mental real estate does that person take up? That's the question. And how easy is it for you to turn the volume down on that person, that voice? That's the question. Most people are sitting ducks. They're defenseless to that voice in their head. And the name of the game is not to extinguish that voice. I haven't done that, nor do I care to do so. And Beautiful. I tried. Trust me, I tried. I tried to meditate it out. I tried to fast it out. I tried to
charcoal it out.
There's charcoal in that. I tried to take all the supplements. Okay, I tried to. I took a lot of the magical bubbling plant medicines to try to. I thought that I could extinguish that voice, and that I needed to in order to be successful. You know what I know now that I've wised up, and we tell our coaches this, just turn the fucking volume down on it. And that's actually easy to do. One, it's easy to do when you have a way to do it. And two, it's doubly easy to do when you know that's all you need to do. You know how much time I've saved myself? Because I listen to I think about my thinking. Alan Watts said it. He said, when you learn to think about your thinking, you become alive in a new way. Most people are not thinking about their thinking. They're just thinking. First thing that shows up in their head, of course it's right. It's my own voice in my own head. Let's go with it. What could possibly go wrong? No, learn to think about your thinking. That's another one-liner that we can put the entirety of this conversation under the umbrella of. And I tell the coaches all the time, just here, turn the volume down on the victim mentality, take it from this big thing that's taken up the entirety of your mental real estate and shrink it down and move it over there. That's it. And I used to think I had to be perfect before I could be successful. And that's so not the case. You know how much time I've saved myself? Like I'll go with my words. Breath unlocks. Wow. And that took 30 seconds. And before I knew how to do that, as in they never let me live my own life. And I hear the words and I feel the feelings. So I'm like, I take out the they and I put in I. And now it's me and me. I took them out of the picture. Okay. I've saved myself weekends. Like, you just shut the thing down. And that's a skill. You didn't learn that in high school. I didn't learn that in high school. I've got a degree in education. I've got a master's degree in education. I didn't learn about how to put my words together to save time and money and resources. I didn't learn that in high school. I didn't learn that in high school. I didn't learn that in college. I learned traditional grammar, spelling, and definitions, which was not that interesting to me. This, on the other hand, is. It's beyond interesting. It's fascinating.
Before we sat down, we were talking about San Pedro and 3rd Street, and you were saying, this is in Los Angeles, and you were saying that this was one of the only places that you felt physically, or you were scared for your health or something like that.
Not my life.
I would
health.
like for you to explain what it's like on San Pedro and 3rd. And also, what would
World
you
War
do
Z.
there to fix that?
Oh, my Lord. Thanks for the easy questions.
You're welcome.
I lived in Thailand for a decade. Still sounds weird to say that. Lived in Ecuador for a year and a half. My passport before this COVID thing, it looked like a bomb went off in it. I had to get extra stuff sewn in there because in some sketchball border towns on the Mekong River. Are you in Laos? Are you in Cambodia? Nobody knows, right? Mm-hmm. It's like that. And I felt fine there. I felt driving through that, and it's not just that corner. It's a number of corners now. I haven't been back there in 3 years. I could only imagine after lockdowns, all that stuff, because that put a lot of people on the street. I could only imagine. So driving through there, it looks like something out of a zombie apocalypse movie. They've got the Black Plague down there. It's a true story. They've got typhoid down there. They've got cholera down there. They've got third world, medieval, pre-industrial squalor diseases.
Yeah, we're talking about Skid Row in LA.
It's the scariest place I've ever been in my entire life. And I was only in there, driving through there in the morning. 8, 9, 10. Mm-hmm. It was a kickboxing gym I used to go to over there. And what was the name of it? Doesn't matter. What would I do to fix that?
Well, I want to say I lived there for a month over the summer.
She told me that 10 minutes before we started. And I said it 3 or 4 times. I was like, you lived at San Pedro and 3rd?
So it is horrifying. It was horrifying. It was a month where I started to stereotype.
I'm going to get myself canceled with the answer.
I started to stereotype people. I was becoming a version of myself that I did not like. I was afraid of people. Somebody be walking across the street and I'd be making all these judgments. And my car got broken into twice.
I'm surprised it didn't get broken into 202 times.
But the amount of compassion.
Did you ever get into soft white underbelly?
I listened to that right after I left.
They're filming those down at San Pedro and 3rd.
Yeah, that's how I found out about it.
Mark Leatia, Latia.
In fact, the aesthetic of this YouTube channel is inspired by him.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to see who's down on and they're not the worst by any stretch of the imagination going on. Those are like the people that's like the top tier people down there that get in front of the camera. They're people that are so blown out from, okay, what would I do? What would I do to stop that? Let's start with the fentanyl. Let's start with the fentanyl. Where's that shit coming from? Everybody knows where it's coming from. It's coming from China. It's coming from China. What can we do about that? We can do a lot about that. And then how's it getting in the country? That's an interesting question. And then as far as some of those people down there, I'm not qualified to say what could fix them if they wanted to be fixed. Okay, now I am qualified to say that because that's common sense and it's simple.
Well, let's workshop this. Let's say that we're at...
We're not going to unpack it, though, are we? Please.
No. I would never unpack anything.
Oh, my God, thank God.
Let's say we're at the soup kitchen or whatever they call it, right? Or the place where they give out socks and stuff. And you have undivided attention, like in order to get these socks, in order to get this food. Maybe you're not asking for this help. However, it's going to be told to you, and your reward for listening is this thing that you'd like. What would you say to them to change something?
I'm fearless when it comes to going into a story with someone who wants to go in there. Okay. And the one time I backed out of doing a workshop was with people like we're talking about in this situation, the states that we're talking about. In Richmond, got some people, some friends that run, I'll keep the names out of it, but they provide help to communities of that nature. And she...
Like addicts?
Homeless, majorly, like years and years and years and years and years of drug abuse. And I brought her and myself a cup of coffee down to this place this new place she was working at. And I got in there and I go, I'm out of my element. And it's good to know. It's good to know where your boundaries are with stuff like that. I was like, this is beyond my level of expertise. This is profoundly out. I am out of my depth. And so as far as the long-standing effects of hard drugs are concerned, people can get themselves out of that, and they can rebuild their life. We're talking like 10 years on fentanyl, 10 years on carfentanil, even though carfentanil hasn't been around that long. So, stuff like that. You've seen that. It melts people's minds. It turns them into actual zombies. I don't know what to do with that. Give me somebody who's got some procrastination issues and a fear of not being good enough, and they want out, and I'll do that all day long, because that is what I do all day long. That's a whole other thing. The victim mentality is what gets people there a lot of times. I lived in Venice for a year, and almost every day I would go on a walk. I would listen to what the homeless people were saying, because they were everywhere 5 years ago. I can only imagine now. And the projections, it was inflamed stories to the umpteenth degree, where people wouldn't want to get in 5 feet of their psychogeography, to use a Jordan Peterson word. That's not my word. I'm not smart like that. Psychogeography. And what seems to be the most repellent thing, based on what I saw in people that were homeless and were excommunicated. It was they would yell at the top of their lungs, "You rah 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 rah," and it would be this. You saw that down there. It would be this constant thing. So it is projection central. Yelled, turned the volume up. Wait, that's the most repellent language, and it no one can get anywhere near that or wants to get anywhere near that. So that's essentially the final straw of the victim mentality until the person is just dead.
That is remarkable to hear, actually, because that was one of the things that I experienced, was all this yelling, so much yelling. And I was imagining, you're saying this is the final destination before their body takes over.
It's what's after that, I don't know. You're going to die.
In the system of shadow work that I subscribe to, we have this repressive and the reactive manifestation of our shadows, of our negative whatevers. And the reactive manifestation, and people tend to one polarity or the other. The reactive one is to externalize your problems. It's the projections. And the other one, the repressive one, is to internalize them. Not in the healthy way, but in the I'm a bad mom kind of way, right? Those people, their final destination is killing themselves. So now when we're on Skid Row, when we get to that type of final destination, man, this feels weird to say, it's a community of reactive types. They're the survivors in a way, but they're a shell of themselves, whereas the repressive types have likely offed themselves already. Man, this is insane to think about. To think that
it's the elephant in the room. The victim mentality is the elephant in the room. Take it or leave it, folks. That's my personal and professional opinion. It's crack cocaine has got nothing on the addictive nature of the victim mentality and the pervasiveness of the collective addiction of that thing. And that's devastating news, and it's fantastic news in the same breath, because we can learn about our words. You have control, you have input, you have influence in the story that you tell yourself. And the faster that thing goes, all of a sudden when people are yelling, they're talking really fast, the faster that thing goes and the louder it gets, the harder it is to control.
Well, speaking of Jordan Peterson, I've noticed lately that his breath is up, his speech is faster, his words are getting something, or he's stressed the fuck out.
Well, he's taking on the giant, and that giant is
he is,
Klaus
and
Schwab
also
and his fucking buddies. At the
lots
WEF.
of projections from him, and that's the thing. I'm gonna get in the Gene Keys here, which I don't think you follow that system so much.
I'm aware of it. It is too sophisticated for me.
The 55th Gene Key is
That was so good. I'm like, I'm just this simple redneck over here with a beard talking about soft talk. The 55th Gene Key.
Quiet you.
Yes.
Let the smart one talk. That's hilarious because no. You're the one with the master's degree. I have something to confess right now. I never graduated.
From elementary school?
No, I graduated some things, but like,
Middle school?
college or whatever.
High school?
I had 2
You got
classes.
a high school degree.
I did.
Okay,
but
then you did graduate.
No,
You
but my
graduated
confession
numerous
is I
times.
said I have graduated, which I haven't from college, but I feel like I have. Is that a soft talk thing? No, I feel
Listen,
like
you're
that
in
is
the game.
actual.
You're doing what you want to. So I said this. When did I say this? I said this. On class. I said this in class for level 2 when we started last week, and it's true. So I have my undergrads in business administration. I learned more in 1 minute when I put my poster up offering my services as a coach/counselor. I learned more about business and going into business for myself, business administration, in 1 minute when I put my poster up at the spa, January 17th, 2007, when and next to everybody else's posters who's been there forever. I learned more about me and business in 1 minute than I did in 4.5 years of an undergrad degree, which it was in business administration, and it was what I really got a degree in was beer drinking, tail chasing, and fist fighting. That's what my real degree was in.
Are you good at those things?
Yeah.
Okay. I just had a couple classes to go, but I just could not anymore. I was done. However, I took my 5 years in college and I said I graduated. Anyway, the 50th of Chinky.
What'd you get your degree in?
Journalism,
Yeah,
with an
obviously.
emphasis
Look at
on
this.
public relations.
Okay.
And a minor in comparative world literature.
How would your life be different if you had taken those extra 3 classes?
I could have taken 2 classes and they could have been karate and I would have graduated. But some people took those other classes. I didn't. And I feel like a liar. It's the weight I've been carrying. All right. So, dude, 50 with Jinky. Let me just say this really quick. Sorry. Just is one of my toxic.
It's not soft talk. It's pressure language.
Oh.
If I could just fill in the blank. If I could just be successful. If I could just stay committed. There we go. If I could, let's play the language. If I could just stay committed.
If I could just stay committed.
Take out the just.
If I could stay committed.
Oh, hold on, let me back up. If I could just stay committed. Say that.
If I could just stay committed.
How does that feel to say?
I can feel it in my solar plexus.
What do you
feel?
feel?
Judgy.
Nice.
Shamey.
Perfect. If I could just stay committed. Take out the just. Say the sentence again.
If I could stay committed. If I could stay committed.
See where the mind goes? She's into solution mode.
There
now
is
it's that whole Carol Dweck growth mindset versus fixed mindset. If you have a fixed mindset, that means you have a fixed language. If you have a growth mindset, that means you have a fixed language. So Matt, again, mindset, great thing. And we'll finish this language game because we're in the middle of it. Ask somebody what it is. Ask somebody that talks about it a lot. What is it? Do they have a practical, simple definition of it? We do. It's the story you tell yourself about yourself. It's the story you tell yourself. And mindset, it's normally held in this big picture conversation. Okay, it's this thing I know I need to get better at. And there's that confident looking person over there, and I'm over here. Whoops, would have been nice. When we add in the words, what words to use less of and why if you want to create confidence, what words to use less of and why if you want to turn the drama down, then mindset becomes practical. As in the root word of practical is practice. I can practice using different words. Yay, now I'm in the game. So if I could just stay committed, okay, you took out the just. Say that again.
If I could stay committed.
Take out the could, put in can.
If I can stay committed.
Take out the stay, put in be.
If I
Can
be committed.
take out the if.
I can be committed.
That's how you practice talking yourself into shit. Let me guess, that feels better than where we started.
Yeah, and there was also a divergence in there where I realized, I reconfirmed that I don't care about being committed to my college degree. If I can just be committed, I kept saying that over and over. And also, I don't care. So it's fun to play with these words.
It's so fun to play with words. Your mama told you not to play with your food. Mark England is telling you, play with your words.
Mark England is good at a few things. Words, fighting and drinking, and creating community. That's another thing.
Way to bring that back.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We talked about that earlier. Good job. Accidentally, I didn't have any classes on how to create community in college or high school or anything. We have one, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Shout out to all the Enlifted coaches. We have 320 coaches in our coaches community. I've certified them all. Wonderful people. We've had tremendous fortune. It's not luck, it's fortune. It's better than luck. Tremendous fortune attracting some really great people that want to learn more about their words, and like I've said numerous times on this show so far, turn down the volume on their victim mentality. And most people that take our certifications, they want to coach. Not everybody. There's a good amount of people that come through and they're like, listen, I want to take a bite out of crime of my own victim mentality and then share this with my kids, or just be a better communicator with that's pressure language we didn't talk about. This is soft talk. Gotcha. And or I'm a team leader and I want to be a better communicator. I want to be better with my words. Or I just like this stuff. Come on in. We're going to teach you the Wu-Tang sword style of the Enlifted method. And I think that anyone that wants to be a leader, that they set out to be a leader, is out of their fucking mind. I'm going to be a leader. I'm going to go lead. Trust me, it's not what you think it is. It's not what you think it is. My advice is to, if you find yourself in that position where people are looking to you for advice and counsel and quote-unquote leadership, do it reluctantly. And that's what Adam Chin and I, as my business partner, that's what we've done. We're like, okay, fine, we'll do this thing. And I don't see myself as a leader by any stretch of the imagination. I'm a teacher and I'm an entertainer. And part of the reason that, oh dear God, I'm going to say this. And I only say this not because of my personal opinion. I say this because of the outcome of what we have in the community. Just based on that, we're good leaders. We're good leaders because we don't want to lead these people, if that makes sense. We show up, we do our best, and it's I'm not trying to be elevated at all about anything. I don't want to be. I took myself off social media because, well, it was the right thing to do for a couple of reasons, and one of them is I could care less about the shine. I don't like the spotlight, even though I've been a person of I've been in the most visible person in damn near all the communities I've been in since high school. So I know what that's about. And I don't need that attention to feel good about myself. Okay. And I also know that, I go out and do the workshops and shake the babies and kiss the hands. I played with those words on purpose. See your community as an ecosystem. We see our community as an ecosystem. Let me take you out of it. I don't know who you are. We see our community is an ecosystem. We play well with others. So like we were talking about earlier, initially it was a lot of overlap between the strong coach and training camp for the soul, and the people they would do those programs. They would come over and do ours and things. And also long gaming this thing has helped a lot in my positioning of myself in the community. I'm doing this thing for 50 years. Okay, a nuke on my forehead, that would take me out of the game. Okay, and I have it in my calendar. Did we talk about this on the last one?
Mm-hmm.
We did. Yeah. My last day on the job is January 17th, 2057. I'm going to do this one thing for 50 years because like I said, I'm disciplined and I'm curious. Those things destroy. Discipline and curiosity smoke motivation and inspiration. Okay, I want to know what it feels like to be in one game for 50 years. I want to see what I can pull off in one lane for 50 years. Like I'm 16 in, 34 to go, and knowing that I'm going to be doing this for that long, it's majorly helped me. That's when I put that in my calendar. That's when everything really took off. Mm. Because I relaxed into it. I didn't have any questions about what I'm going to do professionally. Okay, and so I don't need much from the community in a sense. I'm there to teach. I get a tremendous amount from it. Okay, I love those people. A lot of them are my best friends now.
Yeah, Enlifted is amazing community. Truly amazing.
Yeah, and the thing goes on. We're doing our annual Enlifted coaches gathering, Enlifted coaches and extended family members gathering in Richmond, Virginia at October 30th.
Am I invited?
Yeah, of course you are.
Cool.
September 30th and October 1st. It's a Saturday and a Sunday. We booked Brandon Powell. Remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon Powell and myself, we're doing a full day workshop. September 30th, it's a Saturday, and there'll be all kinds of stuff on the front end and the back end. It's gonna do its own thing. And that lends to the conversation. What I'm talking about is I didn't say this on the last podcast. My mother died when I was 20. She died of cancer. Or depending on my mood, I could say she died of chemo, radiation, and surgeries. Because I saw a definite, there was a pattern, right? Or I could, depending on my mood, I could say Johnson & Johnson might have had a hand in that. Because she used their talcum powder. There was a $100 million class action lawsuit. They knew. They knew that their talcum powder, when women used it, led to ovarian cancer. They settled out. They settled. Look it up. My mother used Johnson & Johnson talcum powder, ovarian cancer. Done. And so, yeah, you got some chills on that. 10 years after that, 13 years after that, I got, and we're still in the conversation about community, I got access to $250,000 from an insurance payout. And fortunately, I was already in this coaching game. I had been for 3.5 years. And I looked at that money and I'm like, cool. I'm going to go circumnavigate the globe. And I did. And I went and studied with the founders. I got to 8 of the 9 of the systems. And there's tons of great systems out there that I don't know anything about. Okay? Just out of the stuff that I'd been exposed to, I went and studied with 8 of the 9 founders of the systems, right? And most of the time I would be able to go there and hang out before, take the training, do some private lessons with them, connect, and hang out with the community that they created, and then stay afterwards. And so I just knew I needed to do that. And so I got to take a good look, take the pulse of different communities. And those lessons paid big dividends as we were building our community. Because there's a way you can strangle things. Okay, as the Taoist saying, there's a Taoist saying, the stronger that you clench your fist, the stronger you hold on, the faster you'll let go. Right, and that's and I've done a pretty good job, take out the pretty, of turning the volume down and keeping it down on my own victim mentality and a telephobia, the fear of not being good enough. So what does that mean? I'm in a great position to facilitate and enjoy watching our coaches soar. So yeah, our doors are always open. Come in, study, go out, do your thing, never hear from you again, stay the whole time, whatever you want. It's a dojo. It's a school. Enlifted it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in 1989. Okay? In 1993, in November 1993, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was showcased to the world through the UFC. And before, they were smoking people in Southern California, teaching it out of garages. And that's where we're at right now. And we're a couple of big shows. We'll have our seminal moment of reaching critical mass, because, and like I said, take it with a grain of salt. We're the best.
Something that I've noticed about you,
we're the best in the language game. Period.
You embody an archetype that is familiar to somebody that starts movements. A bit of a hermit.
Yeah. Kind
of weird.
Yeah.
Take out the kinda.
Take out the bit of a hermit. I'm a hermit. Like, I do this thing, and then I spend more time alone than most people that anyone knows.
You have haters.
Good.
And you have lovers.
Great.
That's an interesting combination of things. And if I can offer any support beyond what I do with the show for you guys, and beyond all the conversations I have around how much I love the Enlifted community and what you guys are doing, I want to extend to you this confirmation that you're living a hero's journey, or a myth, living this myth that is legendary, and go for it. If at any point your own victim mentality comes out and starts to be a dick, that doesn't need to happen. It's legendary. I'm proud of you. I'm inspired by you. I'm not proud. I'm inspired by you.
Thank you. Tell you what I did there later.
Well,
I appreciate that. I do. And just to be honest, I get that feeling. I get that feeling too. I'm like, dude, you're playing with some big magic, man. You're playing with some big magic. And if you keep doing this, if you keep fucking doing this, which I'm going to, like, I'm not going to fly too close to the sun. I'm going to fly straight in the middle of that. Like, I just have to.
Yeah.
I have to know. I have to find out. And I believe what I say. That might be the craziest thing anyone's ever said. I believe what I say about the victim mentality and what happens when we dismantle it. And I also believe what I say about being able. We have the possibility. Everyone's on this team. It's called Team Human. Okay, that whole Team Transhumanism can lick these nuts.
I'd include some aliens in here, though.
The good ones. We could. What would happen? Let's just get simple with a question. What would happen if the collective breath of humanity was unlocked, what would happen? It's hard for me to fathom that. And I can feel a semblance of the celestial rightness and beauty of that.
Good.
And that's all I need. It's like that and a cup of gas station coffee. And I'm fucking going for it.
Jesus. Well, on that, because I also really have to pee. If you come back in another 2 or 3 years, I think it's been 3 years since you were on last. Who knows where we're gonna be?
Should I let my beard keep going?
No, we gotta see that face. You got a good jawline. You got good skin.
I'm better looking without the beard.
A little bit.
Yeah. And I still I like it. It's like I don't. That's also good. I don't care about being good looking. That's very freeing, by the way.
Should I grow a beard?
You couldn't grow. You don't have one hair on like.
All right.
You're Asian.
I am half Asian. All right. I really do have to pee, so we're gonna shut this down. Mark, thank you for being on. Really.
Jessica, thanks for having me on.
Anything you want to say before I close this out?
No.
Where can people find you?
For the certifications, they're platinum standard. Coaching tools. We're the best. I said it again. Enlifted.me. We have a podcast, Get Enlifted, and that's for coaches. It's for coaches, by coaches, talking about language and stories and breath. And then Instagram, @Enlifted Coaches. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You ready to have some fun here in Austin?
Let's do it.
All right.